Opening a business is hard enough, but one newly launched liquor distributor in Denver is now facing fears of what tariffs could mean for them. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Mark Salinger.
And I'm Jennifer Meckles. They're trying to get their company up and running while also trying to navigate decisions in Washington that are just constantly changing. Our Angeline McCall spoke with two of the people behind this company. Angeline?
The founders behind a new tequila and mezcal distributing company worked to get their business off the ground for the past year or so. They're the ones who are the link to actually getting some of these products exclusively made in Mexico here to Colorado, which means that they're bracing to learn if tariffs will be imposed or not.
It started in Oaxaca, meeting mezcaleros who make tequila and mezcal.
We've been working a lot to foster our culture here in this state.
About a year later, it's turned into a business as a distributor here in Colorado. Marlene Bedoya and Berenice Fallarino are co-founders behind Timeless Agave.
That's important too, that we are bringing something beyond just selling alcohol. You know, it's about culture, it's about education, it's about community. So this is where that's why we are doing this.
With distributing products from Mexico comes fears of tariff talks from President Trump.
The prices are going to rise so crazy, that we're worried about not only the restaurants, I think mainly for a final customer.
Trump imposed a 25% tariff on Mexican goods, then paused the action. He's expected to make a final decision by April 2nd.
I feel that every day is changing and every day is saying, okay, we're gonna pause it, we're not gonna pause it. I mean, we can't sleep just thinking about that. Are we gonna be able to do this in the future?
As a small business, working with small producers in Mexico, it means they're worried they'll feel more of an impact.
We feel that the big companies are the ones who can survive by, these type of changes, and we feel that we don't have this space on the table if he does that.
It's something that it's just getting us a little bit nervous because we are just in the beginning of something, and right now nothing clear, nothing what to expect, what to keep going or not. Or
once they gain clarity on what will happen with tariffs, they feel they'll fight to keep their business going, and not just for their livelihoods.
We feel that our culture is not on sale. This is our culture. This is something that we should be doing.
So far, Timeless Agave has products in 70 liquor stores in Colorado, along with 25 restaurants. In their first 3 months of business, they're hoping to continue building on that momentum that they've already got going. In the studio, Angela McCall, 9 News.
Thank you, Angeline. We've got a really interesting stretch of weather headed our way this week. It all starts tomorrow with a warm and windy day, and then, boy, it just ping-pongs from there, Corey.
It really does. It's going to be a typical March roller coaster for us. The big story tomorrow, once again, will be the high wildfire danger. We have fire weather warnings covering almost all of eastern Colorado for tomorrow, and that does include the Front Range stretching up into the foothills for tomorrow. Near record high temperatures, low relative humidity, gusty winds, and dry vegetation all leading to this tomorrow. So we'll have to be very careful and alert for wildfires. We have a very kind of breezy and mild evening here going on in the Denver metro area. And as far as the temperatures are concerned, we're going to get up there pretty high tomorrow. Near record territory here, 73, just a couple of degrees away from a record. We'll also see quite a bit of cloud cover here and there through the day. So the headlines, we're watching that high fire danger, which will go into the day on Tuesday. Those Monday St. Patty's Day shenanigans are wind and warm temperatures, and this is all ahead of the next storm system. We'll all talk about that coming up in the forecast.
Thank you. South Metro Fire Rescue says there was a plane that landed at Centennial Airport today with its landing gear collapsed. That plane landed on the runway, then veered off. Only the pilot was on board, and South Metro says that pilot managed to get out of the aircraft with no injuries. An animal shelter in Englewood has now relinquished its license after they were suspended by the state last month. On Wednesday, Moms and Mutts Colorado Rescue for Pregnant and Nursing Dogs, they're known as MAMCO. MAMCO relinquished its pet animal care and facilities license. They'd been served with a suspension order back on February 28th after they failed 2 inspections that month. MAMCO had been on probation since December. This is the same rescue that had an adoption event in Sheridan last August where nearly a dozen puppies were ultimately exposed to rabies and unfortunately had to be put down.
Two national leaders of the Democratic Party are coming to Colorado this week. New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who is an independent but caucuses with the Democrats, are making two stops here in Colorado on Friday. The first is at Bank of Colorado Arena at the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley at 1 p.m. on Friday. Then they'll come down to the metro area and hold an event at Denver Civic Center Park at 5 p.m. Attendees will be allowed in an hour before both of those events. It has been 5 years since COVID closed schools, sending students home to learn through the computer screen. The learning losses that followed sent test scores into a nosedive.
And yet student behavioral and mental health issues, those skyrocketed. 9 News reporter Rachel Krause looks back on how COVID impacted learning and how schools are still trying to catch up 5 years later.
And he's instrumental in sort of the education establishment here.
With classes back in session and students in seats, it's hard to believe it's been 5 years since COVID-19 took hold.
No, I can't believe that.
When schools closed down in March 2020, students like Alan Rodriguez Granados went home not knowing how long spring break would last.
I remember I was really happy because I didn't have to go to school anymore, and I could just stay home and chill.
As coronavirus spread, learning shifted online. The transition tough on both sides of the computer screen.
It was kind of hard. I didn't really learn much, but like the things that I did learn did stick, so I was grateful for that.
Teachers worked extremely hard to modify their instruction from being in person to this remote hybrid environment. And in all transparency, it reduced the quality of instruction that was occurring compared to their in-person environment.
Rhonda Hannaford is the Deputy Commissioner of Student Excellence with the Colorado Department of Education. She says Colorado students experienced a year and a half of disrupted learning during the pandemic. Even after they returned, it wasn't easy.
I felt underprepared and not ready for what was gonna come up. I was able to catch on to new materials pretty quick, so I wasn't really lagging too far behind.
Reading and math scores statewide dropped down sharply. Chronic absenteeism in students spiked from 22% to 35%, while mental health tanked. Students, especially middle and high schoolers, reported high levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. And some kids got left even further behind.
We saw that student achievement gaps widened, particularly for our marginalized student groups. Within that, we saw that there were pre-existing declines between our different groups of students, and that was further exacerbated and accelerated as a result of the pandemic.
Learning losses that teachers like Jeffrey Almond felt in the classroom.
What that does psychologically for us and our kids, I would worry more about that, sociologically or something, the impact of that and what's happened since. Versus oh, you missed out on 30 days of math. At a certain point, some of those things start to seem kind of insignificant. There's bigger things to be worried about than you're a little bit behind in reading.
I think it was everybody. I could think some people were struggling, some people were not. But
Hannaford says the state is building back the learning lost during the pandemic. Early literacy grants, improved training, and new programs to assess student skills are helping boost math and reading scores statewide. For 3rd through 6th graders, their CMath math scores are even topping where they hit in 2019.
Students coming back to school, engaging in their learning, those are good signs.
For Rodriguez Granados, catching up in class took time.
a couple years passed, I was able to catch up a bit, and I felt more ready and prepared.
Now he's feeling ready for whatever high school has ahead.
So what was it about virtual learning that just didn't seem to work? The Colorado Department of Education says it was a combination of schools being unprepared for at-home learning and the massive shift to online teaching, all while experiencing a global health pandemic where more than 1 million Americans died. But since then, they've been working to get that quality education back for students, and it's working. But the CDE says there's still a long road ahead to getting reading and math scores where they need to be, kids back in class, and to close the achievement gaps so many students face for good. Rachel Krause, 9 News.
They will face 12 seed Colorado State, who's coming in on a 10-game winning streak.
And meet Clifford, the country's going to get to see him.
Moving on to sports, the Colorado State Rams got to hear their name called again on Selection Sunday. This was the moment right there up in Fort Collins. They were given a 12 seed by the selection committee after winning the Mountain West Conference tournament, and they'll end up playing number 5 seed Memphis. CBS studio crew liked what they saw out of the Rams.
I got a mild upset for you, and that's another 12-5 with Colorado State, partly because of the injury issue with Tyrese Hunter. We don't know how he's going to be for Memphis, but Nick Clifford's going to be the best player.
Yeah, Colorado State has been on the roll here of late.
Yeah, for sure.
We like to hear that number 12 seed upset. The game will be held in Seattle on Friday. Tip-off is at noon our time. We had a crew up in Fort Collins today for the watch party and celebration. We'll hear more from them coming up in sports.